Welcome to Hope Through the Hard, a curated coalition podcast where we talk honestly about life struggles and how to face them in healthy, hope-filled ways. In 2 Corinthians 4, Paul says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." That's the purpose of this space. Real conversations about the hard things in life and the hope that carries us through. Visit curatedcoalition.com to find our coaching services and book a free consultation.
Hi, I'm Levi. This is Ashley, and we have Lincoln running production today. Lincoln?
Chicken did the setup, right?
Well, of course. Chicken does sit up now.
Yes.
Yep.
Lincoln, you got a kid question?
Yeah. Okay, so what is your least favorite food?
Oh, there's one to think about. Least favorite food?
Spaghetti.
I don't like spaghetti. You are correct. I do not like. You know what I really, really hate?
Orange sesame chicken.
Orange sesame chicken. Like with a burning passion, I don't like orange sesame chicken. And I don't like spaghetti. You're right.
No. Yucky.
Yucky spaghetti. You don't like spaghetti either, but you do like orange sesame chicken.
Yes.
Mine's simple.
What?
Pickles. Duh.
That's why we eat pickles
When I'm gone.
when you're gone.
When I travel for work. Pickles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sauerkraut.
That's why we have tuna. Yeah, I like sauerkraut. We had sauerkraut
The
when you
Reuben.
were gone last
like a
time
Reuben?
too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. We
Sauerkraut
really-
is good though.
Yes, sauerkraut is good. I don't, there's not a ton that I don't like. I just don't like certain meals.
Right.
Talk about triggers. Yeah.
What?
Sauerkraut triggers me in some ways, and sometimes
Because of the deli?
because of the deli where I had to cook thousands of Reubens all the time and put that sauerkraut on the grill and smell that.
God, I love a Reuben.
Yeah.
I love a Reuben.
Put my hand into the sauerkraut jar and hold that. Then smell that vinegar smell.
I love sauerkraut. I love a Reuben.
Yeah, I fixed you a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good question, Link. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
So today we are kind of doing the last episode in our trigger series, talking more about the practical part of triggers.
Yep.
And so the moment when something happens and your body reacts or you say something and your brain doesn't even have the opportunity to catch up and for you to think about what's happening, maybe you snap, maybe you shut down, maybe you walk away, maybe you over-explain. That's what we're talking about today, how to manage that situation.
Yeah. Sometimes I've had this situation where it's like 5 minutes later after the situation, or maybe even the next day, and it's like, why did I snap like that? Why did I respond like that or freeze up and not say anything when I should have said something? So I think this is a good time to kind of have and reflect on what's going on and what's taking place.
So today we are talking about how to go from that automatic response to an intentional response, because that's the next step in trigger awareness, is really moving from I did this without even thinking about it to I'm going to recognize what I'm doing and purposely choose a new response before my body has time to jump to this automatic response.
Right.
Yeah.
And the good news is your body learned this response, and the good thing is it can learn a different response. And so that's some of the patterns that we want to try to be aware of, how to be aware of that, and then how to change those.
Yeah. So before we talk about changing your responses, it's important to understand that triggers aren't a character flaw.
Right.
They are a nervous system response. And this isn't just a new catchphrase thing. This is a science-backed, long studied thing that people have been, understanding for a very long time. We just use this phrase, and I think maybe it's been overused in society.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of almost like the personality studies, this is just who I am. It's a license to do whatever.
Right.
That is not what we are saying here. This is not just a license to behave however you want.
A way to cop out.
Okay, yeah, like that. It's not, that's not what it is.
Right.
This is it's pointing to an area in your life that needs healing. And we're wanting to bring awareness to it so that you can learn how to change your response.
Yeah.
So they're not a character flaw. They are a nervous system response. And research shows that when your brain perceives a threat, your amygdala, your response center, activates and it sends you into a stress response. It actually releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol that prepare your body for some sort of reaction. So these responses actually happen before your brain even engages all the way with the rest of your thinking part of your brain. This is just your fight or flight response, your amygdala reaction. So that's why people feel like that is an automatic response.
Right. Yeah, it's a big part of how God's made us as well, is to protect us. And so we get into those situations, not just physically how to protect ourselves, but mentally how to protect ourselves, I think is key to understand all the different parts of our setup of what God's done. And this is how to protect us emotionally and mentally as well.
I agree with you completely. Your nervous system is really just kind of saying, how do I protect myself? Like, how do I survive this? And so you're not broken, and this isn't a cop-out.
Right. And sometimes the question is well, is this why I act without even thinking? And so sometimes well, I just did it. I didn't know. I didn't have time to think. I didn't even process the situation. I just reacted.
I just said, or I just walked away, or I just, whatever your response that we talked about in the last episode is, whichever one of those you tend to, that's why it happens so fast before you have time to think.
Without even processing it. And I think that's more of what we're talking about with this. Not just say, I just want an excuse to get out of this. These are quick responses to different situations that are happening without even processing, because I've created a belief system of what I've learned from my past, and this is how my body has been trained to react.
Yes, exactly right. We're wired for survival. We're not physically wired for perfection. That perfection happens through sanctification, where the Holy Spirit moves us into patterns that are more like Jesus. This can actually be one way that the Holy Spirit sanctifies you, because you are allowing him to point out these areas where you have given into a flesh response, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and he's teaching you to change it. So your nervous system learns patterns based on ways that you survived in the past.
Right.
Often childhood responses, things that were helpful when you were a child. So if a particular pattern worked in childhood or during any other stressful experience, maybe your teenage years, or in response to one particular person, your brain is going to repeat that strategy because it worked.
Right.
So,
yeah. And that's some of the situations of good and bad situations.
Yeah.
So I did something good, I got a treat.
Yeah.
Same as how we train our dogs. Right. And so they do something wrong, they know, oh man, I messed up, and they cower down.
Yeah, they do.
And we're no different in a lot of these situations. So we learn from those experiences, good or bad, and try to be able to predict what we want as the outcome to keep us safe.
Yeah. So maybe it would be good just to you talked about an experience gives a learned response. We see that with Pavlov's dog in psychology. You ring the bell and the dog gets food, or you ring the bell and the dog, goes outside. That is a trained response. Yep. And so as humans, we function very similarly. When there is an experience, we have a learned response. So maybe we could talk through some examples of that.
Okay.
You wanna start with that?
So example of conflict at home. And so whatever the situation may have been, if mom and dad's fighting or sibling fights, that happens. Then all of a sudden I'm avoiding home. So sometimes it can happen where later on in life, it's like, I'm not going back in that house. I'm not going in this situation. Or maybe it's mom and dad's fighting, and now I'm fighting later on in my marriage. And here's a situation that could be a conflict thing that I just avoid and run away.
Yes, exactly like that. There's also like maybe you had an unpredictable caregiver, whether that was your mom or dad. Maybe that was a babysitter when you were really young.
Right.
Or in a daycare environment, and you learned that when that caregiver, whoever it was upset, they would explode.
Yeah.
But if you could, like early on, maybe smile at them, or
Right.
maybe like I'm just thinking, maybe there was a song you would hum or something that would calm them down.
Right.
You learn to people please.
Right.
And so then as you get older, when you're in school, you're people pleasing when a teacher's upset or reactive and then that translates as an adult to a boss.
Right.
When you have an unpredictable boss who is behaving erratically,
Right.
you look for all of the ways, oh, well, can I get you a coffee? Or,
Right.
oh, could I do that job for you? Whatever you have to do to people please.
Because you get in that criticism, because I felt that a lot, and still have to tell myself it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm safe. We get defensive where we think that we have to have everything perfect and everybody has to be happy, and work can show that.
Yeah.
And be that trigger all the time as well, and make us feel powerless. I think is a situation where sometimes we kind of feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I can't handle this, or I'm not smart enough to be able to overcome this problem that's taking place. And so sometimes we get angry or out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, and that's an easy one to see, when someone feels powerless, where maybe their response is to lash out in anger. And you see that, as children age, when you've got one who, maybe it's the youngest one in the family. And so they feel like the other siblings are always, exerting power over them.
Right.
And what is their response? Well, if that works once, then they're going to tend toward anger, even in adulthood.
Right. Because your nervous system is trying to protect you.
Yes.
And with that, this worked, so this is what I'm going to do from now on, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Lincoln,
exactly.
watch out. Your brother might learn. He's going to knock you out.
Oh, all right. So I think the thing to understand is that the goal is never to eliminate your triggers.
Right.
That is never going to happen. And I think that that's a common misconception in coaching. And when people are talking about, learning
Right.
to heal through things,
Yep.
is that, oh, we can just eliminate this.
Yep.
Well, that's not really an option. That never really happens.
Right.
The goal is just to become aware.
Right. Well, because our bodies are also still saying, here's a situation, you need to handle the situation, what's going on. Oh, yes, this is what you've done in the past. Now I need to change because this is where we really need to go. And that trigger still showing up is not necessarily always a bad thing.
No.
And so we're trying to become someone who never gets triggered is never going to happen.
Right. Right. The real goal is to create some space between the thing that stimulates the trigger
Right.
and your response.
Right.
And in that space, there is awareness and there is understanding, and then you can change the way that you're thinking, the way that you're believing,
Right.
thus changing your behavior.
Yep. And that can happen. I've worked through some of my stuff and changed my responses into a lot of situations of, I would have triggered and responded in an angry way. I would have triggered and responded in a fawn way and trying to make everybody happy. And it's like, I don't have to. They're not happy. Not my problem. Where before it would have been like, I need to do. And no, it's okay. I can feel that. And I can have a different response of having some empathy on somebody and say, hey, I'm sorry you're in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea is to not become someone who never gets triggered.
Right.
The idea is to become someone who recognizes what is causing you stress and
Yep.
what is happening in your body, and then responding with purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And that's huge.
Yeah. So this is where we shift gears and become super practical. So when people begin to heal their triggers, there's 4 steps.
Yep.
Usually that we encourage people to walk through.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the first one?
Well, and we've kind of talked a little bit about this in the last couple of episodes. So first one's notice, pay attention to physical signals.
Yes.
So common signs, a tight chest, racing thoughts, tension in the jaw, we just tense up or just can't sit still. Like we're having withdrawals. And so these are some signals that not just our nervous system are showing feelings, but physically, here's some of the stuff that's going on as well, and kind of be some triggers for you to see, hey, here's a red flag. Why is my jaw so tight right now? Because I'm kind of triggered.
Yeah. Yeah. So the second one then is to name it. So first we notice, then we name. And if you don't know what to name it, go back and watch the last one. You are either a fight, a fawn, or a freeze. So you are one of the 4. So name it. Figure out which one of them you are. And so then instead of saying, I'm losing it, you say, something is triggering me. And then you say, I am angry. I want to hit something. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, you have to name it.
Right.
So when you name your emotional experience, it activates the brain's prefrontal cortex. So it pulls your amygdala out of action and enables your prefrontal cortex.
Yep.
And that helps you regulate your emotional response.
Yeah. And husbands, do not name your wife's trigger when she's triggered.
Don't do it for her. She does not need your help. She does not want your help.
Hey, babe, you're kind of triggered today. You want to see anger. It comes out. But it's helpful to kind of have the conversations as we are learning, even because the healing part of this evolves too. So even helping each other to name that situation whenever it comes about is learning some of the communication stuff that I'm trying to learn how to help you with in those situations without just saying, you're triggered.
Yeah, I don't love it when you do that to me. Yeah.
But that's, I catch it. I see it. It's like you're reacting to a different situation than what the situation is. And so it's having an idea of how to communicate, of not just saying it, but naming the situation. Hey, how's this making you feel? And part of it's listening too.
Right. Because naming it actually does calm your reaction down by turning your amygdala response off, which is huge. Yep. If you can turn that fight or flight part off and turn your thinking brain back on, it's huge.
Yep. Third part is to pause. Some triggers react quickly, and if we can slow everything down and take some time to pause to heal and process, okay, I've named the situation. Now I just kind of need to pause, wait 5 seconds before I do anything else to kind of just let that sink in, let my brain change and start to react into a different situation.
Yes. And then the 4th step is to respond with intention.
Yep.
Ask yourself, what am I feeling?
Right.
And I actually feel like most people will say something quick, like just, I'm angry. No.
Why?
Not why, but anger is just kind of a blanket emotion.
It is.
There is a feelings wheel
Right.
that will help you identify what you are actually feeling. You need to name the specific emotion.
Right.
You might start with anger, but you need to peel it back and go much, much deeper than just anger.
Yeah. And we have that on our website as well as a resource. So that's something that you can get out, look at that and kind of narrow it down to be able to help figure out some of the sources of what's really that feeling and how to approach it.
Yeah. So after what am I feeling? What do I need? Like, what do I need? What response aligns with my values? Because hitting something does not align with my values.
Right.
That's not going to work every time. So what aligns with my values?
Right. Yeah. And those are some easy things for us to say. Here's these 4 steps. Now follow this and you will never have any more triggers. And these aren't always easy to, because that wheel has so many emotions that's on that as well. And it's like, how do you pick which one? It's not just I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm upset.
No, they're very specific.
Right. And so there's a lot that goes into all of this to be able to name specifically what's going on, but then also to be able to take the time to go back to what's the source. How old did I feel during this? And again, this is a biblical thing that happened in the Bible to people then as well. This isn't just a new age thing.
Right.
This is stuff that's happened, thousands of years ago. So as we like to look at biblical examples.
Yes, please do.
David expressed a lot of emotions. Just look at the book of Psalms, and you can read the songs that he wrote and the emotions of him, of up and down, up and down. Psalm 42:5, why, my soul, are you downcast? And David's modeling emotion that's been suppressing him through the different situations of him being attacked, him being chased after to be killed, and then, having an affair and losing his kid. And there's so much that went on with this. And so there's a lot of emotions.
And I think that that's a really good example, too, of why so downcast, oh, my soul. Like, he's not just, oh, I'm sad.
Right.
Like, that is a specific word that you can really do some inner child work with. Like, that is a specific word with big feelings attached to it. So that's a great, that's sort of what we're talking about, really looking for that, for what is actually at the root of it.
Right.
And, you see that he really pours that out to God.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very good. Like, we don't need to rush to medicate or rush to placate or run away or none of that needs to happen.
Right.
You can take these things to God. Now, of course, there are situations when, you do need other help.
Right.
And but for a lot of things, learning how to pour that out to God can be helpful.
Yep.
So, second one. So, in 1 Kings 19, we see Elijah under intense stress. He collapses under the broom tree and he asks God just to take his life. His response was that God is going to provide rest and food and quiet. So God doesn't say oh, I'm going to give you what you're asking for. I'm not going to do that. God is going to provide what he needs. So he doesn't correct Elijah.
Right.
He doesn't get mad at Elijah for saying, I quit. I give up. This was hard. I don't like it. I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
He says, no, I just want you to go to sleep. And I will send you ravens with food or whatever that gross bird was. And take a break.
Right.
Have some time just to restore and rest, and we'll check back in later. I'm not mad at you, not upset with your emotions, but we're not doing that thing you asked for.
Right. Well, and because God created us, and so he knows what we need, not what we want. He understands that too, but he's going to give us what we need. And then if different situations, he's going to bless us as well. But I think it's key that we tap into him and listen to what he says, because like Elijah in this situation, so stressed, it's like, hey, I need to take some time with God and just rest. Kind of that pause and just rest and reflect on the situation and let him pour into me. Yeah. I think it's huge.
Yeah. And that wasn't a short period of time for Elijah either.
No.
So
sometimes it takes time. Healing takes time and it takes work, and sometimes it's not comfortable.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Another one is Jesus in Gethsemane. And so that's huge. The deep distress that he was in right before he was about to die. And he says in Matthew 26:38, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow. And instead of suppressing his emotions, he names it. He seeks support and he prays. And so that same examples of what we need to be doing as well. Name that feeling.
Sorrow.
And then with that, seek out help.
He had friends. They just weren't doing their job. He had friends who were supposed to be helping him.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes friends helping is just being there, right? And some of them were there, but they didn't stay awake. And that's okay. Some friends don't always understand sometimes because we don't explain to them everything.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think coaching can be so helpful is,
There's someone there to
there's
hold
somebody
space for you. Yeah.
to give you the space, to give you the push as well. Because there's so many times people that I've coached where they're like, yeah, Levi, I know you're not just going to take the easy Jesus answer. You're really wanting me to dig a little deeper into this. And that's kind of what God wants from us too in these situations is Jesus was at the far depths and he poured it out. God, here I am. But my soul is just hurting.
Sorrow.
And
That's a really good word too. Sorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deep grief.
You look it up in the dictionary, you know what it is.
Yeah.
But that's why we have the wheel. That's why we have to understand some of these emotions. Most of us don't know how to explain it.
Right. We don't even have a word for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Bible shows stories after stories of situations. Maybe they're a lot worse than us. None of us are about to die of persecution or die for all mankind's sins. So Jesus went through some hard stuff. But
Correct.
Jesus also understands where we are and what we consider a big problem of what's going on and how to help.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, those kind of give us a model for processing emotion instead of reacting impulsively. At least Jesus does.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, Elijah was definitely impulsive.
Oh, yeah.
In that specific portion of his story. So when people start to recognize their triggers, sometimes I think that blame shows up.
Oh, yeah.
And blame and shame don't move us forward in our healing.
Right.
They don't help us heal what's causing the root of whatever that trigger is. And it certainly doesn't help us interact better with the people around us in the moment. So what does?
Yeah.
Compassion. Yeah. Your nervous system learned survival patterns for a reason, and triggers are not failures. They're signals. And when you learn to identify the signal, you apply compassion.
Yeah. Because that blame part of, oh, it's your fault. Oh, it's so-and-so's fault.
Or it's my fault. I've done something horrible.
And then turns into shame a little bit, right? Of I am a terrible person. I am a bad person. I'm not good enough. And then we start shaming ourselves. I think it's huge. Of a lot of people don't understand that part, how that really molds our belief into all of this. And that's also why we keep triggering like we do, is because we keep giving ourselves this shame and the blame of things and don't give ourselves compassion at all.
None. Most people don't practice any self-compassion at all.
So instead of saying, oh, I'm a terrible person, or this is what's wrong with me and everything else, I think it's a good thing to be able to kind of say, hey, what's some of the good stuff about me?
Yes.
What is God really pouring into me? What's been good? What's some of the good things I have done?
And what happened to me that's created this pattern? Like, what has created this response in me? Figure that out.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what we do in coaching.
Right.
So
because that's kind of really where growth can start taking place, is whenever we start to be aware of all these situations.
Yes. Yeah. So once you start once you start to identify what are your triggers, when you can practice finding them, you generally begin to develop a little bit of response flexibility.
Right.
So instead of triggering to fight or triggering to flight or triggering to fawn or triggering to freeze, you gain the ability to pause. Think about, what are my boundaries? What are the things that are really important to me? What needs to be protected in this? Yeah. And then you can learn to communicate clearly and eventually regulate your emotions.
Yeah. And some of that, I think, just being aware of the situations, because sometimes I can find that and see that in other people.
But not yourself.
But it's starting to be.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with one of my coworkers, and we were talking about somebody else and their quick response of stuff and like, oh yeah, this is probably because of some different situations. I'm like, oh yeah, I do the same thing to myself. And I react and I think how bad I am. And then this is my response in those situations. And so it's like, yeah, I'll own it. Yeah, I do this too. I understand. And so I have to change and process through this stuff. And I think that's key. So others know as well who we're working with or the relationships we have with others of here's my responses. This is what I have to do to help work through that.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, oh, you're aware of what's going on instead of just blowing up, trying.
Yes, trying. Yeah.
Trying to
that's
grow,
the thing.
trying to heal.
So if today's episode left you thinking about your own triggers, there is encouragement because you're not going to fix everything overnight. So don't get too excited that this is going to be like a fast process.
Right.
But you're already doing awareness, which is huge. If you are hearing things that you're like, oh, that's probably me, that's awareness. And that's one of the first steps.
Yep.
Because you've already noticed. So now you can work on learning to name and pause and respond with intention.
Right. And if you would love to know more about the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze, then book a free session with us. Life coaching on our website at curatedcoalition.com. And we would love to sit down and just visit with you, talk with you through these different situations, what you might be dealing with, and how to start healing and processing through that.
Yeah. So let us know, which one of the four do you see the most often in your life? Maybe let us know, when was the last time you noticed that you were getting triggered? And, maybe you're starting to connect a physical sensation. If that's you, great. What is the physical sensation that you do? Is it like what you were saying, like your jaw tightens or your heart races? And then let us know, did pausing help?
Right.
Did this practice of naming it and pausing and then changing your response, does that help? Does that help your interpersonal skills? Does it help your work relationship or your home life?
Right.
We're interested.
Yep.
So
thank you all for joining us. Like and subscribe. We are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And so check out all of our other episodes and share this with all your friends and family.
thanks for joining us for today's conversation. My hope is that you leave here reminded that whatever you're facing, you're not crushed, abandoned, or destroyed. That's the promise of 2 Corinthians 4:8 and 9 and the heartbeat of hope through the hard. Visit curatedcoalition.com for all of our coaching services or to book your free consultation. We'll see you next time.